A new study shows that watching violent or aggressive television can cause sleeping problems in preschoolers. Joining us now is Dr. Ivy Anderson, a neurologist from Gunderson Lutheran. Thank you so much for being here today.
Welcome.
Now, we've heard in the past that anyone who watches TV just before they go to bed, can have some problems falling asleep. But this focused a lot on younger kids and watching and a lot of violent content.
Yeah, the study that's going to come out next month in pediatrics actually focused on 3 to 5-year-olds, and they looked really at violent content in TV programs and other media such as video games, and it showed that in 3 to 5-year-olds, exposure to minimal amount of violent media can cause disrupted sleep, including increased nightmares and also difficulty falling asleep, which is one of the main concerns parents have, getting kids in bed early.
Yeah, is this a lot like the other study too, where your mind is just active, or why does this happen?
Well, they don't know the specifics, but it's linked more towards causing some anxiety in young children, and part of it has to do with children at that age. They still aren't able to distinguish reality versus fantasy, and then that can lead to increased anxiety, causing difficulty falling asleep at night. And
you mentioned too, it's even mild forms of violence, like I think even cartoons are included on this.
Yes, and it's really put in the perspective of the child, so even minimal violence that can be animated can be pretty distressing for them.
Now, what are some of the effects of kids not being able to fall asleep, or some of the nightmares? What's the effect the next day when they're trying to function?
Well, anytime you have difficulty falling asleep, it limits your time in bed, and if children don't get the recommended amount of sleep, between close to 10 hours of night, it can cause disruption in their daytime activities the next day. And especially nightmares can cause nighttime awakenings, which can further disrupt sleep, causing problems the next day.
Yeah, more than just kind of dragging their feet, but like a lot of emotional problems the next day following as well.
It can be a cause of some behavior problems in kids, increased aggression and poor concentration, also just sleepiness during the day as well.
Now, what can parents do then? When's a good time to turn that TV off?
Well, the recommendations is really to turn off all media, including video games and computer activities, after 7 o'clock at night. And also to limit the amount of media the child is exposed to during the day. And it's recommended that parents limit their children to about less than 2 hours of media per day.
I was reading in the study, too, having a TV in their room is probably one of the worst things, because they're going to be more likely to watch.
That is absolutely the worst thing to do, and definitely get the TV out of the bedroom, as well as the Nintendo, all those little video games.
Yeah. Now, if they're not going to watch TV, what are some good things or some things that might actually help a child fall asleep or be able to stay asleep?
Well, any non-stimulating activity. It's best to establish a good bedtime routine and reading a book, singing songs, something that's fairly quiet activity that can ease them to sleep.
Yeah, you mentioned it too, but I think it's an important note. We're not just talking about TV. You mentioned too, it's not video games too, but computers
as
well.
Yes, it's all forms of media.
All right, we're out of time, but thank you so much for being with us today.